Welcome back to another episode of Wisdom Rising. I am your host, Christine Renee, and today I jump on this episode with Chantel Ochoa as we discuss our recent facilitations of different solstice events. We talk about how we are in the transition of the year of the snake to the horse in the Chinese calendar, how this really felt like a end of the year process with the solstice, and then moving into conversations on conscious healing of blacked out memories, of becoming the observer in the healing process, the differences between how we hold space for others versus trauma dumping, and recognizing patterns of why limiting beliefs continue to show up again and again, and how to transmute them to continue to step into your expansion. We talk about choosing love through choice and our many upcoming offers in January of 2026, including She Who Rises, our 5-week masterclass for a women's group. We have our Conscious Grievers group Through the Veil, which is a monthly membership group with Chantel Ochoa. We have our first facilitator training that we're going to be offering called The Art of Holding Space, which is a 6-week intensive. And that's going to be the first in a 3-part series. You can take one or you can take all. And so we're really looking forward to what 2026 has to offer our community. And I hope you check out the show notes for all of those links. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. Thank you so much. And we'll see you there. We're going to jump right in. I woke up this morning, like I talked to Chantel last night, and I was like, we probably don't need to do anything. Let's just see how we feel. I'm not really sure if I have a topic that's alive in me. And we have both been doing these solstice in-person events. We did a solstice event last night for our students. And I woke up this morning, I was like, let's just talk about solstice. We just had solstice. Solstice is upon us. We are, the second day off from the darkest day of the year. So still definitely in that energy. And so I thought it would be nice just to come on, say hello, and do a little check-in with all of you and check in with Chantel about how her amazing events have been going. And yeah, I just wanted to say hi to everyone.
So hello, good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are.
Right? Yeah. Well, and it was really interesting because I was where I'm at, I'm really on the 45th parallel of geographically where I am. And so I really have 4 seasons available to me, really prominent 4 seasons. And, yesterday we were on our call last night and we got off and it was barely 5 o'clock my time. And it was dark out. I mean, fully dark out, stars out, dark out. And I'm like, yeah, it really is the darkest day of the year. And I love the meditations that I'm doing for my different solstice events because it really is allowing so much shedding to happen. Right. And
Mhm.
so I'm curious what you do for your solstice events. I'd love to share what I do for my solstice events. And if you are watching, if you're listening, I would love to see what you are doing for your solstice events. If you've attended any, if you wish you did, what it would look like. Like, I want to know all of the things.
So I last night I didn't, well, I had class with you and then I kind of just hung out with family last night. But at the center they'd had the Yule celebration, and so I caught up on some pictures with that and they looked like they had a great time. I did New Moon the other night and that one was really good, and taking them through different layers of self. And that energy is all about what are we claiming, what are we bringing in, what do we desire. It's abundance, it's expansive energy, but it's also knowing that we're going through different layers of with solstice, with the end of the year coming, with we're in Sagittarius energy, the big talk of the year of the snake is ending and we're moving into the year of the horse. And so there's just a lot happening right now out in the spiritual community that people are vibing on. And so I kind of just been collecting everything and bringing that to the table so that those who don't know, and those who do can have an open conversation about how they're feeling and what they're experiencing with all these different energies that are going on.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like this is a big time for transition. right? Like there's
Huge. Yeah.
and people are really feeling it. And it was funny last night. We were talking about the transition between this from the snake to the horse and how it's a thing right now. Like people are really focusing on it and why is it alive for so many people? And I think that's the part that I find really interesting, right? It's this,
It's a hot topic right
it's a
now.
hot topic. And why is it? I feel like everyone in 2025 have really felt the snake energy of like I'm shedding my skin, I'm making things new, I'm letting things go, and I'm finding where I need to be still and where I need to move slowly or move in a different way than I'm used to. And then now we're switching energies to such a much more motivated, almost passionate, forceful movement forward, right?
Mhm.
And I'm like, well, this is really interesting to watch what people get excited about
Yeah,
and
for
to
sure.
really, and then to recognize, well, is this alive in me as well? And how has the snake showed up for me in 2025? And it's really funny because right now and for my solstice events, I had snake rings on. And I'm like, oh, it really is alive in me because all I have to do is look down. I'm like, oh, there she is. There's my snakes. And I do have a power animal that's a snake. And she has given me so much reason to reflect internally. Like for
Mhm.
her, my snake has been a burrowed snake for much of my relationship with her. Of like, when is it time to go underground? When is it
Mhm.
time to rest? When is it time to nestle your eggs and keep watch, right? And for me, that was like recognizing the snake energy and realizing when does she want to rise above that, right? Like when does she come out of her burrow? When does she go hunt? When does she go take what she needs, right? When does she have so much growth that she sheds her skin? And in that shedding of the skin, you also are releasing parasites. Like this is what the snake actually is doing. It's sometimes they're not releasing their skin because they're growing. Sometimes it's they're releasing skin because it's disease and parasites that they're letting go of,
Oh, that part's interesting.
right?
Yeah, and I'm fully resonating with that because I too have snake as one of my primary power animals, but I have over the last several months have been in creation mode and very silent, and that's not natural to me. I'm a talker, I'm a sharer. I got this happening and this happening, and over the last, few months I've been more internalized. I'm more, like I said, in creative mode. I've been, hanging with my computer more and creating and redoing my content
Mm.
within my own like level ones and two and master and all that. And I feel like this part of me that has been quiet, like you said, when you're like protecting the eggs, that's it. I've been protecting my eggs and they're ready to start. I'm ready to shed and I'm ready to expand and show what I've been creating. And one of them being my website. So I just posted that, but there's been other things that I'm doing in my personal life, my business here. Like we're just in this growth mindset, but it's being done like internally and quiet, and I love it.
Yeah.
It's just so out of character for me. So I'm really enjoying it.
That's where the growth is for you. Like
Yeah.
where usually it might be more of an external processing, and now you're doing this internal reflection and
Mhm.
really recognizing what is needs to be birthed forward. And I think this is the other thing. Like today I woke up and I'm like, I felt so alive. Like I feel like this is my new year. I know it's the holidays. I know everyone might not be on the same wavelength as me, but I'm like, oh, and here we are.
I just kind of feel like New Year is starting early.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
it's
feel
kind of
like I've
like,
already done Christmas. I'm
yeah,
like, yeah, we're good.
it feels like, okay, well, the sun is returning, the sun is returning, the sun is returning, and I feel that so readily in me, like I am looking forward to Christmas and New Year's and having family around and having a friend come visit and all these things. And yet energetically, I'm like, all right, I feel. the year, it kind of energetically feels complete. And I'm ready to step into, and now the light is returning. Like that energy is so awake. And so for my, I did a couple solstice events. I want to know about yours too. Well, and I think you talked a little bit about it. It felt like it was a little accumulation of lots of different
Mhm.
pieces that were happening. Like I can totally see it. Like in my mind, I'm like, if Chantel was gonna do a mixed ritual, it would have this and this and this and this, and like you pull it all together. Is that what it was kind of like?
Yeah, there's different elements, definitely different tables, different conversations. Different parts of the ceremony. So we always do candles. We always do typically I have a table that has like four decks on it and then they have questions. And it's pretty much the same, month to month, but the last few months I've been spreading them out. So people are now getting a list of questions and they can go and sit with a different deck and move around the room and be intentional with themselves and be in quiet and go get their answers and then come back and then we share and open that up. And so it's really interesting when people they have the freedom to come in and be able to release what they want to on the altar. They get to claim what their wins are. And then they go get to seek their answers and make oils and candles and everything. And they have things they take home. So it's really cool. And I love watching them because the emotions they're up and down. So it
Yeah.
can be very emotional. And then we're all in like celebration. And when we go, there's a fulfillment of that.
Yes. Well, and I love that to watch your process in the creation of it, right?
Thank you.
It's so honest and like in your own ability to feel what's going to support your community and trust spirit and like this co-creation process with source of how do I want to put this together tonight? How do I want to do this event? And seeing all of these different tools and all of the different personalities and all of the different emotions and going, what if there were stations and it's not like you saw someone else do it and be like, I'm doing it that way, right?
Yeah, no, it's a download I receive pretty much the morning of. Sometimes a couple of days, but it's the morning of that I'm like, okay, today's new moon, what are we doing? And then I'll get something, I'll hear something, I'll see something, and then that goes, there you are. And it's not, it literally could be a couple words of insight that says like elements. And then next thing I know, I'm like, okay, we're working with elements. And what does that mean? And then that creates a whole ceremony in itself.
I love it. I love it because there's so much availability for play. And I love that it doesn't have to be figured out a week in advance, 2 weeks in advance, a month in advance. And that's what's, I think, often hard for creators who are working and co-creating with source is that sometimes the divine inspiration just hits and you're like, okay, I'm doing the thing, right?
Yeah, and I
And
think
put
that's
it together.
important because when we get too much into the structure of it, then it becomes work. And then there's expectations, and then there's all this. I mean, there's time and place for that, yes. But when you're in a space of play and fun, and I feel that's what ceremony is to me. Yes, there's a seriousness to it because there's something we're presenting, but then there's also that fun and play with each other. So go and do that. And for me, it's just letting it come and let whatever is meant to show up. And that also means in alignment with the people that are coming because they are the co-creators as well. And I think we talked about this either personally or on here, but I really do believe if it's a small, intimate group, that's because they are creating that as well. And if it's big and it's a full house, they're creating that as well. So I just am open to the intimate as well as the big, expansive groups.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot
Well,
of fun.
that's why it's even hard for me to like try to figure out what I want to do on the podcast in 3 weeks from now. I'm like, I don't know. I'm waiting for the inspiration to hit me. I can't foresee what that's gonna look like. I don't know where I'm going. Like I
You're like,
remember
I'm going to be a
having
whole different person 3 weeks from now. Who knows?
and it was like I think it was just a few weeks ago. I've been really sitting in the energy of doing my tantra facilitation, and we had ended ours, and everyone wanted to know what was next. And I've got my in-person events for my feminine activation classes and for my red tents. I feel like they're building, like the energy of growth is there and they're wanting more. And it was just like, oh, well, why don't I just do a 5-week masterclass for women only? And we're going to really dive in. And it just kind of hit me. And it was like, and I think within 24 hours, I had it up on the website. We haven't announced it yet because it's like we're in the holidays. We're in the
Yeah.
holidays. I don't want to overwhelm anybody, but I'm like, She Who Rises is like the next thing that's on my heart that I want to share. And it's not the right time yet. So I'm kind of like trying to wait, but like it's the energy that pulls me forward, right? And so
Mhm.
it's like I love doing the things that are alive in me. And I think right now it's like I love figuring out how you facilitate. And I love talking to my boyfriend about facilitation and how he facilitates. And I love watching other facilitators and going, well, how did they do it that way? Or why did they do it that way? Or wow, they really kind of missed the mark there, or whatever it may be. Like I watch with curiosity and really recognize what would support them and helping them lift it up or create a more sacred container, or what words they're using, what's the linguistic aspect of this, and how do you pull that together. So even though like you had all these different stations that people could go to, you were still the authority in the room that held the container, held the space, right?
Mhm.
And how do we do that? So I've also been really kind of in the process of like, I really would love to teach facilitation. And so we've got our facilitator training coming up in the new year as well. And it's like, I want to help people. I want to support people who have those piles of certifications and or have been trying to promote themselves, or have been on the online space and they really want to do in-person things. And like, how do they come into their own energy, their own power, and really facilitate it, you know?
Yeah.
And so it's like, I really love all the things that are percolating, and I really feel like I want to share it now, but it's like, okay, I've got to wait till Christmas is over.
Yeah, so that's the snake that's still like burrowing and still protecting, and then we will be shifting for sure.
For
The
sure.
momentum is coming. It's here.
I'm waiting for the horse to arrive. Take me now. I only have a couple weeks left, right? A week and a half.
Yeah.
And, and I think part of my solstice journey was I've been doing Inanna's descent into the underworld.
Hmm.
And in that process, she has to go through these 7 gates. And the 7 gates are about releasing attachment, releasing your stories, releasing your traumas, release, release, release. And when I did the same exact meditation a year ago on solstice, and I remember doing it in a space I wasn't usually in, and really had just been introduced to Inanna's story of how her basically the story goes is Inanna is the queen of heaven and earth, and her sister is the queen of the underworld, and her husband had died and she was grieving. And
Mm.
so she wanted to, in her compassion, travel to the underworld to support her sister. And but the gates are still there, and she still has to move through all of these gates to release her status, her social status, her attachment to the crown, attachment to her position in society and the world and the heavens, right? And so here's this goddess who strips everything to meet her sister. And in that process, the first gate is judgment, and she has to release her cloak. The second gate is to release rejection, and she has to take off her boots. The third gate is the fear of persecution, and she has to take off her belt. The fourth gate is betrayal, fear, like letting go of betrayal and release her clothing. So now she's like nude, and she still has her jewels. And so the fifth gate, she has to release her her fear of abandonment and release her necklace. The sixth grade, she has to release her fear of it all and release all of her royal rings. And she finally gets to the seventh gate where she has to release her doubt and take off her crown. And
Mm,
just in that process, here's the visual of like recognizing to really honor all of yourself and all of your parts and all of who you are and all of your stories. You have to witness and recognize how they're attached to you,
yeah.
right?
Yeah. And we did it last night and it was very powerful. Yeah, I
Yeah.
did it with you. So I didn't, yeah, I went and I laid on the couch and turned off my camera and did it. And it was very powerful. And there was a lot that I was able to release that was connecting to conversations that I had just had. And so and it was the releasing of the belt is the one I was talking about was I felt that. Well, I felt the coat. And then when I got to the belt, it just felt like this expansion that was created around my waist from letting that heaviness just drop.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
It's not just releasing this last year, it's like releasing all of it.
All
I'm
of it.
releasing all of it. I'm coming to a place of vulnerability with myself and don't know what's going to be behind that last door when I enter into the underworld of the journey, right? And when she meets her sister, when she meets her other half, she really recognizes this is the accumulation of all of my darkness, all of my shadow aspects, everything. So she's vengeful and miserable and like just like kind of horrific, monstrous qualities that it's like everything that we push away from ourselves that we don't want to look at becomes this aspect of our shadow. And how can we in all of our in our nude in our vulnerability
Mhm.
and our acceptance that we've let all these things go, how can we embrace her? How can we not reject her anymore? How can we not abandon ourselves anymore? How can we not judge ourselves? How can we just love all of the pieces, all of the parts, all the way she looks, the way she moves, the way, like all of it, and merge with her to really recognize that that is where we find our internal peace,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? Just
Yeah.
I
And it's a beautiful journey to go through. And because in the end, you're really coming back to self. Like you're saying, it's accepting all the aspects of ourself. And I think that we spend the majority of our time being our life being pulled apart and fragmented from all of our experiences and people's comments and expectations and everything. So to get to a place where we're pulling all of that back in and you can say, I accept me for who I am and how I am with all my flaws, with all my successes and everything. And that awareness is what helps us to heal and helps us to stand forward and step up to who we truly are.
right. Well,
Yeah.
and I feel like this remembering process,
Hmm.
hyphenate the word. So we're not only remembering the story, remembering those times in our life where we've been abandoned or rejected or, all of these things. We can remember the story, but we're remembering ourselves. We are, if we hyphenate the word, this is our soul's ability to collect our fragments back is in the storytelling, right? And I find that this is a really powerful, very vulnerable practice if you're doing with another, where you're sharing your story, you're sharing where things in your life where you have dismissed part of yourself because you don't want to look at it again, right?
Hmm.
And so when we take a moment to go, this is why I have dismissed and shoved down and been repulsed by whether my actions or the abuse that I endured or contributed to, like all of it. Like these are the places that I am turning away from. And when we can turn forward and lean into your story, you're collecting your soul fragments and by doing so, you're giving honor to all of who you are, even the bad parts. Like, what if there were no quote unquote bad parts? What if those pieces of you led you to be who you are today? And so why are we dismissing it? Why are
Yeah, and
we
that goes for
rejecting it?
every experience that we have that we we deem or we label as a negative, but when we search for that positive, you're going to find it. And even if it's just one spark, one seed, one something in the big negative story, in the end, that seed will grow and expand into something very beautiful and very expansive. But we have to focus on that and give it gratitude and nurture it and water it. But for the majority, we tend to look at everything from a negative lens.
Right.
And now we're like shifting it. No, here we're like, no, we want a positive outcome. So let's create that positive outcome even through pain and suffering.
Yes. Well, I'm
Hmm.
curious. I want to know your opinion on something.
Okay.
What do you think about blacked out memories?
Mm. I think that's us really protecting ourselves. And yeah, I think it's just a layer of protection that we do. And then when they start coming up, it's because we've healed enough to let it start coming to the surface. And and sometimes it's shocking when it does, but I do think that we suppress it and just keep suppressing until we're ready to see it for what it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
What about you?
Well, I've been thinking about like blacked out memories quite a bit lately because I am in a process of storytelling right now and telling my relationship stories and seeing the reflection of how my son is in his story. Like he has a ton of blacked out memories. I have a lot of blacked out memories due to his father and recognizing like there's a bit of fear of going, what if I remember something that I don't want to see again? Why can't I just bring this one to my grave? Like I don't want to go digging for it, right? And we talk about this a lot with our students. Like there's no need to go digging because when you're ready for the healing, it will percolate to the surface so that you can witness it and support it and love on it and do the things. And there's I part of my practice is actually I'm actually like leaning in and going, what if I remembered this? What if I told my story and things and the pieces that I do remember unveil parts that I had forgotten,
Mm,
right? And
yeah.
going, I'm ready for it. I can trust the container in which I'm being held in. We're doing this in a sacred way. And what would that feel like to reveal those parts of myself that for whatever reason my subconscious was like, nope, we're
Yeah.
locking that one
That's where the
down.
conscious healing really comes from is being intentional with your healing process and knowing, okay, there are some things that I don't want to remember or I chose to forget, right? Consciously or unconsciously. But when you take the initiative and you set the intention and you're doing it within that container and you're consciously aware of it, then you become the witness of what was versus being attached to what happened, right? So it's like you can see it from that bird's eye point of view. You can see it from being like the viewer, the observer, versus being like it's happening to me now.
Mhm.
Because our mind doesn't know how to decipher, is this happening currently or is this a past memory? So the moment we go into panic mode over something that happened 20 years ago, the brain is going to start releasing certain chemicals. It starts responding, our nervous system responds to it in a way as if it's happening right now. So when you take it the way you're talking about, you become the observer. So it's all there. You get to receive the information and lesson from it, but you don't have to have the physical responses to it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah. So it's
absolutely.
way powerful. I love being the observer. I've learned to be the observer over the last few years, several years now, but it takes training to do, but when you're there, it is so freaking powerful because there is no emotional attachment. You just get to see it and you go, okay, I can see why I do this and that because of that experience. And now I can change it. I can shift that now within myself. And is it a story that needs to be told to anyone else, or is it just a story that you need to know for you?
Right. Yeah, that part too is interesting of like
Hmm.
as things arise, like am I keeping those stories for myself? Am I sharing them? Who do I feel comfortable sharing them with? How do I share? All of that is this, it's like opening that box and kind of exploring what's available. And
Hmm.
can we do it in a way that's approaching it in neutrality, not in fear, not in excitement, but like if there's, I feel like the neutrality of it is where the calmness is.
Hmm.
And when we can come to it from a calm state of going, we'll see what I feel like when something arises, and then I can witness myself in that emotion and not judge it as right or wrong. It's just is there, right? And
Yeah.
it's that calmness that I'm looking for.
Hmm. I used to be the one that had to go talk to everybody about everything. Like I said earlier, right? So now I'm in this place of like keep it to your like be not keep it to yourself, but I'm more processing internally. So before I would have to go no 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 no, and now I'm like if something comes up, I don't feel the need to have to even go have that conversation. Now I just do everything energetically, unless it is something that I do feel like, okay, that's a conversation I can have. But as energy workers and, knowing we can heal so much just within ourselves, within our journey work, within our meditations, our rituals, and we don't need to go and talk it out because just because you are at a level of awareness doesn't mean the person you're going to talk to is at that same level.
Right.
So you can go and talk to them thinking, we're going to have this big aha moment of realization and forgiveness and apologies and whatever. And then you get there and they're just like, they're not at that same level. And suddenly the expectation or the thoughts you thought we're going to have doesn't even happen. So for me, I'm like, I'm good on that. I've been there too many times. So yeah, it
Well, I think
is.
that's why like having real clear understanding of who you're sharing with,
Mm-hmm.
where they're at, and how it's being held, right?
Yep.
So like you can do so much work internally and processing, and what it's almost like an exercise of partnership or of trust to share those kind of deep intimate spaces, and who are you sharing them with, and
Mm-hmm.
how does it unfold, right? So it's like telling the story of like this is a story where I feel a lot of my own self-rejection. I hated the way I responded to this, but I'm sharing it with this person who, it's not just anyone. It's kind of like you need to be shown, like this is what you share with your spiritual coach or with your partner who's at the same level as you. Like, you don't want to share it with someone who's in their own drama. Now we're just tit for tat sharing drama, like sharing, well, this happened to me, and then they one up you, like that's not what we're talking about. It's kind
No.
of like, but when you have that, I'm going to love myself no matter what shows up and what emotions show up, and I trust this person is going to do the same. It definitely is uplifting in a way of like I'm not only honoring myself, now I have someone else who's going to hold the story with me, and they're going to honor me too,
Yeah.
right? And
Yes.
then if you're working with like a spiritual coach, like if you were working with Chantel or myself, then it's like, well, from that, what are the lessons? What was the limiting belief that was born out of that? How does it affect you in your daily life? Do you want to continue holding on to that internal messaging, that internal programming, that internal script that's dictating this outcome for your life? And if you don't like that outcome, let's change it,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I
right?
love that. Because our storyline is what are we attached to? That is a big part of how we walk through life. It's the stories that we're attached to, and we start unattaching to those stories and stop identifying yourself by them. A whole new part of you gets to awaken. And
Yeah.
then you get to show up differently. And then that's where that authenticity starts to show up within ourselves because we're not attached to the past. We get to focus on the now, moving into the future.
Yeah. Yeah, it reminds me too of the cacao ceremonies I either attend or facilitate, where it's like there's no need for uh, advice. We're not
Mhm.
telling others what they should or shouldn't be doing, or, it's just a witnessing of. So
Yeah.
everyone there in the room is expected to be a witness, to be an observer, and to hold space for the whoever is sharing whatever story they're willing to share. And just that like recognition of like they're holding space for me. Yeah, there might be silent judgment, but at the same time, you're being heard without a overwhelming like response of and to like this is what you need to do to make that situation better. Like how often do we go to our girlfriend and be like, this is the thing that's happening in my life, and they jump right in, well, you could do X, Y, and Z to fix it, or maybe you should do this over here. And like it's just solution oriented conversations. And a lot of times we don't aren't looking for that. We're just looking
Yeah.
to be like witnessed and held and like honored for this is the shitty thing that happened to me. I'm not trying to fix it. I recognize that this is a bit of a mess and I trust that it will be fine. And I'm just sharing. Right. So
Well,
it's
and I
like,
think it's important to also come to the conversation with that.
yeah,
Like if you're going to go trauma dump on a friend,
yes, right. That's
right?
what they're doing.
First, ask them if they even have the capacity to hold space for you for that, because they might be going through something that you're going to trigger their trauma because they're processing something that they haven't shared with you. So, first, open the conversation with that, and then let them know I'm not really looking for solutions. I'm listening, I'm looking for to be witnessed, to be heard, to be seen. And that way they know what their role in the conversation is as well. And
Mhm.
we do. We all have the solution conversations and friends and everything, but sometimes we also need to say, I just need to be listened to right now.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
can you hold it for me? Because I talk to a lot of people that are like, oh my gosh, so and so just did this. They trauma dumped on me and now I feel heavy. And I'm like, well, did you even have space to hold that? And they're like, no, I'm over here. I've been sick. I've been this. I've been that. And I'm like, well, then you need to say it so they understand that they can't just come trauma dump on you and then leave you hanging with all their baggage and go, okay, I feel better. Thank you. And now
Right.
they got to go transmute and go clear in their space and their energy. That's
Right.
not fair.
Right. Right. And I think that's where oftentimes you have these conversations where you're not actually getting anywhere. You're just trauma dumping. Right. And
Hmm.
then you both feel like shit afterwards because it didn't actually help anything. Right. And so we have to actually come forward and be like, this is what I'm available for, and this is what I'm not. No, I'm
Yeah.
not like, and when do you make yourself available? Like, and how do you set up your conversations and your coffee dates and whatever it is to go, this is what I'm available for. Like I would love to catch up and to see what's going on in your life and have a chat and that's where it's at. It can stay there versus I'm actually going through a really heavy thing right now and I really need someone to hold space for me. Though that's a whole other thing,
Yeah.
and so it's like recognizing where you are and what's ready to be shared and how are we going to share it and with whom, right?
Hmm.
Like we have to have that self-awareness. So much of it is self-awareness and I always say that awareness is the first step of healing, right? And to be self-aware is huge, and to recognize what would support me in this. How can I support others? Is my cup full and I'm overflowing in availability to help support others? Or am I running on empty and I'm not available to hold more within me?
Hmm.
Like if you would have talked to me 2 weeks ago, and I'm sure you could have a similar story, like 2 weeks, I had very big, significant people in my life going through really hard times, and I really only I was taking up hours of every day for over a week, right? Like I'm holding space for them. I'm holding space for them. I couldn't take on yet another more people, more dynamic than that, right? And
Hmm.
so it's like recognizing how much and in those moments of like I am holding space for a lot of people. How am I filling up my own cup? How am I filling up my own cup? What do I need to do for me so I can continue to give to meet these people in my life who I care deeply about what they need from me in this moment, knowing that this is really like a traumatic part of their life and I want to be there for them, right? This isn't,
Yeah.
I don't want to be available for them and I need them to go away and get a freaking counselor. Like, right? Knowing who and what you're available for is so much of it. And I think a lot of times as Reiki practitioners or shamanic practitioners or other healing modalities, we often give so much right? And we don't know how to self-reflect on like, what do I need to do to maintain this?
Yeah.
Are we
Yeah.
heading to burnout?
And how often do, with that, as practitioners, we all have tools, right, that we offer everyone else?
Right?
And how often do we actually utilize our own tools, and do our own work? And that's a big thing. Like we, as practitioners, we have to fill up our own cup with exactly the same things we're offering others, right? And take our own advice and walk our own walk. But the thing too is with what you're talking about is also with self-awareness, sometimes just going within and processing it, you'll realize I don't actually need to take this outside of myself.
Yeah.
The mind can create such a big storyline that you feel in this panic mode, like, I got to go share this. But the moment you kind of go back within you, the mind calms down, everything calms down, you realize, actually, it's not as big as I thought it was.
Yeah.
That's a huge thing
Yeah.
because then we can just release it. We can let it go. We see it for what it is, and we're not trauma dumping and we're not creating chaos within ourselves unnecessarily because our mind wants to latch onto things and create a bigger story.
Right.
Now we've dropped into the heart. Now we're in our higher heart. We're in our higher consciousness and of understanding, and that's powerful.
Well, I think that that in of itself is like a process too,
Yeah, it is.
right? The
Yeah.
movement from I'm trauma dumping to being self-aware to processing internally to sharing my story where I'm not triggered in it anymore,
Hmm.
right? Like it's all very interesting, like the spectrum of how we come to ourselves and come to know ourselves and come to love ourselves and honor ourselves and support ourselves and what do we need and how do we get what we need? Are we manipulating the people in our life so that we can kind of energetically take their energy to help fill in the holes within ourselves? Are we,
Mm.
like there's, I mean, we see it. We see it in in the world of like how are we energetically exchanging and how are we, and I think this is why when I do my practice, like I do a lot of yoni yoga and feminine activation. It's like the whole thing is like tapping into the earth source energy. And it's very shamanic. Like we're coming to the earth who has an abundance of energy that's willing to take and compost our stuff for us. And that compost energy, that alchemization process, then we bringing it up into our bodies, right?
Mm.
That process, I don't need another person to do it for me, right? How do
Yeah.
we learn this for ourselves? How, like, that's one of the reasons why I'm so excited about my upcoming 5-week women's class because it's so much about like, we need to connect down into the earth. We have this an abundant source energy beneath our feet that can be our GPS, that can be our nourisher, that can be our space holder. And in that process, we're filling our cup, and the practices don't need to take that long.
No, they don't. It's literally like minutes.
Right.
Once you know how to do it and you've practiced it within yourself and you create your own ritual, it literally can be minutes.
Yeah, to shift into a different energy state, to shift
Yeah.
into that aligned, I know who I am. I know what I'm available for. I know what I need. I can take care of myself. It's this space of sovereignty. It's really recognizing here I am, I've arrived,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And then recognizing every time that you waver and going, crap, I'm wavering again. How do I
And
come
why
back?
does that keep happening? And then you recognize the pattern, and that's the point. The point is recognize the pattern and the why. Is that pattern even existing in you? And once you know that limiting the belief, that whatever experience you had, now we can go through like the chain of command of emotions to let it go or to embrace it, embody it, whatever you have to do with it,
Right.
right? But again, it's that self-awareness and how can we expand within ourselves?
Yeah.
Because every day we're changing into new people, good or bad, right? So it's a choice. So you can take a situation and you can choose to let it like destroy you on some levels, or you can choose to let it grow you. And
Mhm.
so either way, it's still a choice. And every day we make those choices.
Yes. Right. And
To
I
be
think
less than or better than
you have
in
to
your own
recognize
self.
that there is a choice. And I think that's where the
Yeah.
sovereignty comes in from. Like oftentimes, if you're in your victimhood, you don't recognize that you have a choice. You're just doing what you have to do because you have to do it because someone else said it, or that's the program that you're in.
Hmm.
And then you're in the blame game, right? There's when you're a victim that you don't see the choice before you. And the
Yeah.
moment that you rise out of that victimhood and be like, everything is a choice. I can show up today in this energy. I can show up today to do this live. I can show up today and say, I am going to get that email out. Or I can be like, fuck it. I don't want to. Like it's a choice. It's a
It's
choice.
a choice.
It's a choice of how we perceive the world. It's a choice to recognize that we have a history within ourselves or within humanity of trauma and going, and I still choose to love. I still choose to love me. I still choose to love life. I still choose to be open with how much love I have in my heart, right? Like it's a choice to continuously show up and share your light with the world,
Hmm.
right?
There is that cause and effect, so we know when we make our choices, there will be an effect. There's going to be an outcome based off of whatever decision we make. So I think that's where, for people, for all of us to understand is that when we make the choice, it really is the power's in our hands. How do you want to show up in the world? How do you want to show up for yourself? And so if you choose to go one way, like, hey, I'm not going to do the email, but then now you might feel regret. You might feel, like a whole different spectrum of emotions because you didn't show up for yourself. You feel like, oh, I didn't show up for my community. All this stuff starts happening, the shame and the blame and everything. Or you say, you know what, I'm going to take the few minutes to do it, and you sit down and you do it, you feel creative, you feel expansive, you've let your light out, and then suddenly it's all said and done, and then people are also vibing at that level with you.
Right.
So it's just taking that example and saying, yes, how am I showing up today?
Right. And I think that's why I love our Soul Rising program is because we're vibing at this level of self-accountability.
Yeah.
People who join that program are ready. They are ready for that shift. They're ready for I'm ready to look at it. I'm ready to take responsibility for it. I'm ready to find the tools that are going to help support me into a higher alignment, an easier alignment, a more of a flow. Like the people who come into our programs are amazing because they're hungry for that self-accountability.
Yeah.
Like I'm
Is
not
the foundation for soul rising for sure.
absolutely, right? And so it's so often it's like recognizing the way we promote our offerings. It's like, yeah, I'm going to be there for you. I'm going to be the mentor. If you have a question, I'm going to hold space and support you in it. But the goal is so that you can learn how to do that for yourself. Almost in
Hmm.
any program that we offer, that's kind of the underlying tone. It's like by the end, you're going to be empowered to do this for you. You won't need the teacher, the guru, the mentor any longer because you'll be able to self-source your wisdom.
Yeah, because I was just thinking that when you're explaining about soul rising, it's the same thing with, yeah, all of our
All
programs,
of our
even
programs.
the archetypes. It's like though they show you, it's so radical the change that people have because they see their victim, their saboteur, they see it all, and then they're like, "Oh my gosh, it's all me." It's like, yes, and once you can say it's me, that is, I'm the victim, I'm the one sabotaging, I'm the one doing this, I'm prostituting myself, it's my inner child that's taking control of my life, you know what? Yes, then you can shift everything, the whole mindset, everything becomes different. And then the accountability empowers you to then step forward and everything is changed. And so like you said, it's coming back to that self-sourced like wisdom and healing and being empowered. And through these programs that we offer, that's absolutely what you attain
Yeah.
is you come back to self.
Yeah. Absolutely. And
Mhm.
I love that. I love that that's the vibe.
That
Like,
is the vibe.
right? That is the vibe. And so it's like I feel like oftentimes like yeah, we might not have 50 people in a program, not that I would want that, but like it's not a cheap program. It's not like energetically cheap because
Yeah.
we're going to command this level of participation. You know, we're in this energy of commanding you to take ownership. And if you're not ready for that, you're not ready for moon rising. Like we really are in a position of helping you reflect within yourself of like, this is your power, this is your truth, this is who you are. You just have to claim it. And in that process of claiming it, we're shedding and shedding and shedding. And I think that's why I loved this solstice meditation so much, the descendants of release, 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 let go, and then love all of you. It's not
Yeah.
just, I'm naked now, I've let everything go, and now I'm rising above. No, no, no. It's like, no, we have to accept all of our parts. We have to love on all of our parts and accept ourselves fully and completely and not deny who we are. And I just, yeah, I feel like it was really reflective of my own process and what my own, like what I get excited about. And, um, it's just, again and again and again, I find it really impactful for the people who are vibing at that level, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think we have so much that we have that's coming forward.
Mhm.
Do we want to like
Let's
kind
do
of
a little
put out
share.
a little bit of like what we do
What we,
coming forward?
yes, I'd love that. So I know, I think the first thing that's coming forward, I'm pulling up my calendar. Pulling up my calendar because we do have a lot. Like I'm so excited. Like I really feel like we have this availability to really shine our light when we don't just do what we think we have to do. I want to do what I'm excited about. And so the first thing that I was really excited about offering in the new year is this program called She Who Rises, and it is a women's tantra introduction course. And with that, there's so much juicy goodness in it because we're going to go like an overview of awakening that Kundalini energy, the foundations of Tantra, but also looking deeper of going within each of us, we have the sacred masculine and feminine energies, right? It's in us both, right? And how do we honor that balance and that dance between the two? And how do we mature that energy, right? And then sacred sexuality and reclaiming pleasure, and then self pleasure as a devotion, as a ritual. And how do we integrate it all so that we can claim that sovereignty of our sexual selves? So that's the next master class that's coming up on January 6th. And then I'm trying to remember, I think then yours is coming out, your conscious grieving group.
Yeah. So it's actually a coaching program support group for grievers who have lost loved ones, grievers who have lost themselves that, so it's all layers. And I see grief as it is layers of self, it's layers of loss. And so it's not just honoring those that we have that have transition, but of ourself as well. And so it's through the veil, conscious grieving, but it's more of set up like a coaching group. And so you're going to be learning all kinds of different techniques. We're going to be doing, it's all in like in through intuition. So you might get cards, you might get some worksheet, you might get we work on the grief wheel versus the linear grief. There's conversation, there's holding space, there's so much that's going to come with it that is so powerful. It's about being able to come back out in our solar plexus and to get back into life.
Right. And that's the second and fourth Monday of the month, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah,
that
so
would,
it's twice a month, and they can choose to come once a month or twice a month.
right. And so that would be starting January 12th, because that's the second Monday of the month. And then January 26th. Because it goes She Who Rises, and we have our Conscious Grievers group that's starting. And I'm really excited to have you offering that because I know it has something been on your heart that you wanted to offer for a long time. And I know that you have been doing it in person. And we have had so many people in our community who say, yes, I want this. Chantel, are you offering it? It's now available for you starting in January. Super excited about that.
Yeah,
And then I've
totally online, in Zoom, private group.
and it's
So,
way more than any kind of grief support group. Like this is not a grief support group. I'm like, don't think of it that way in your head because it's so much more than that. It's really a spiritual coaching atmosphere of how do you alchemize and transform and shift your grief into an energy that's moving and flowing and progressing you through your life, right? And honoring
Yes.
it all.
Honoring it all. Yeah.
Honoring it
And I'm
all.
definitely not a grief coach that's going to let you just sit in your grief. I'm a motivator. I motivate people to shift and to move and to see that there is life beyond grief. And that's power. So that's what I bring to the table is we're
Yes.
not going to sit in our grief and just talk about our grief week after week. No, we're coming to the table to say, this is what I experienced. And now I'm going to take those and, like you said, alchemize that. I get to stand in my own power. I get to understand why this is happening in my life. What are the contracts that I signed up for that are bringing this forward, right? So it's really a soul-led, like
Right.
soul contracts. It brings everything together.
Well, and I think that's why, I mean, moon rising and its like mission, right? Like, here we go again. It's recognizing what are the patterns in my life and how do I shift into a higher version of who I am,
Yeah.
right? Not denying those parts. It's the same thing with She Who Rises. Here's a women's tantra practice group, right? But it's about recognizing your womanhood. It's recognizing who am I and what are the things that have happened in my past, whether that is sexual trauma, whether that is how you present yourself, like all of these things. And how do we recognize, is this who I want to be? Right?
Mhm.
How do I alchemize that energy so that I can rise up to the fullness of who I am? Right?
Exactly.
Right. And so
Yeah.
it's like these are the things that we love to offer. So we've got the conscious grievers, we got She Who Rises. And then it's the other thing that I've been really called, and it's we're not offering Soul Rising in January this year. We're actually offering all of these other things because what we heard is so often was like, I want to learn how to facilitate. I want to take my certifications and put them into action. I want to switch from being online to in person or to have a hybrid of both. How do I do that? How do I hold space and really use communication to help support and facilitate a group space? But if you look at the meaning of facilitator, it's to make it easy, right?
Mm.
So how do you facilitate allowing this emotional expression, allowing this alchemization to occur, allowing the transformation to happen? And as the facilitator, making it easy for others to go on that journey with you, right?
Yeah.
There's so many reasons, like so many people who have come to me on the women's class who's like, I would have never done this on my own. I couldn't make these sounds or move my body this way or whatever. If you sent me a video, I don't know if I would have done it. Right?
Yeah, so some people we need to have the mentor that shows up,
Yeah.
but also that can teach it. And that's what the facilitator program is about.
Yeah.
It's teaching you how now to go and facilitate your services, your offerings.
So learning how to facilitate meditation, learning how to recognize the group's energy, and really making sure everyone has an equal opportunity to share their voice.
Mhm.
It to really recognize as big emotions arise, how do you not only hold space for that, but how do you bring it to into a process to allow them to shift and transform it? Right. And so there's going to be a lot of communication skills that's the focus of this facilitation is how do you use your communication to elicit an emotional response, to elicit a diver deep into oneself, to really allow people to feel like they are safe to express or to feel or to move or whatever the group's intention is, right? So that we're going to be doing these facilitator deep dives. These are 6-week intensives. And so this one is going to have practicums. It's going to have the business coaching. It's going to have the facilitator training. And this is just going to be the first 6 weeks. Then there's going to be 2 other facilitation trainers later on in the spring that's going to dive into different aspects of facilitation. So if you're like, I really need to work on the communication skills and how do I do that? This is the one for you versus the next one where it's going to be more on how do you create the aesthetic? How do you create the visual effect? How do you present yourself? How do you create the rituals and ceremonies so that the thing inside of it can occur, right?
Mm.
And so
Yeah.
we're kind of going from the inside out. So we're going to start the first 6 weeks as like going into the communication of how do we understand the dialogue, And how do we really trust ourselves that we can allow things to show up?
So important because as practitioners, we need to trust in ourselves that we have the skill set to even step forward and do it.
Yeah.
Because I believe if it's on your heart, there's a reason for that, right? It's for you to pull that forward in whatever capacity that is, but we have to trust that we can. We have to
Yeah.
believe in ourselves.
Right.
And that's the first 6 weeks. It's
The
just
first,
believing in yourself. You can do this.
and
And then we go
practice
into
those skills.
ceremony.
Yeah.
Now we're showing up for them to come and sit in circle and sit in ceremony and sit in ritual. And how do you facilitate that?
Yeah.
And then the third part, I love this one too, is about as a practitioner, how do you create your spaces? Your in like your room, your healing space, right? How do you sit across from your clients and communicate with them? How are you the hollow bone to be able to not be in triggered by their aspects of their what they're going through, right?
Yeah. And really, that third one will also have a focus more on how do you create your own business, your own
Mm-hmm.
series of facilitated events. What are those events going to be? And everyone can be different. Like if you have a background in hypnosis, or you have a background in Reiki, if you have a background in fill in the blank, how do you create from all of your certifications? How do you blend those together to really show up? And this is who I am, and this is why I am offering X, Y, and Z, and how it's all going to come together. It's not segmenting yourself. Like I was saying this morning to my boyfriend, like, well, I'm a shamanic Reiki practitioner and trainer. I'm a spiritual coach. I'm a sexuality facilitator. I'm like naming off my certificates, and they go on and on and on. Like I can do all of this, but what do I offer? How do those come and blend together in an offering? Right? Because I think there are so many people out there that are stuck in that certificate collection phase. And it's like, when are you going to get on with it?
Well,
Now
and I
is
think
the time.
there's a fear that people have about merging all of their modalities together. And here it's like celebrate that you have been guided to learn so much. And how can you take all of that wisdom and knowledge now and offer it? Right?
Exactly.
And not think, oh, I can only focus on hypnosis. I can only focus on breath work or Reiki. No, merge them all together because that's where we're at. We're all coming to this space now of bringing it to the table. All of
Right.
it. All of you. Show
And
up, all of you.
you uniquely you is what gives you your edge. And
Mhm.
and in the spiritual space, like I don't want a cookie cutter version of me out there. We don't need that. I'm me. You be
Mhm.
you.
Yeah.
You be all of you. And so we're going to be doing so we just to review, we've got She Who Rises, the Women's Sexuality Transformation Journey for 5 weeks. We got the Conscious Gravers, which is going to be an ongoing, hopefully year-round Conscious Grievers group with Chantel. And then we have our facilitator training. Information will be available soon on how to sign up for those. If you have any questions in the meantime, please let us know, and check out the show notes for all of the information and links. And
And there's still more coming. We're still like creating, there's still so much that is happening. So, yeah, these are just new things that we're offering right now because this is where we are putting our focus on. And so, let
absolutely.
us know what you are looking for as well. What do you need? Do you need support at? So
Right.
we know what to bring to the table,
Yeah, absolutely. If
especially as we're building our facilitators program. Let
yeah,
us know what you need.
right, for sure. And it's kind of this recognition that, like, if there's people out there who want to learn how to shamanic journey, if there's people out there that want to learn psychic protection, like we've got some mad skills over here at Moon Rising. We'd love to offer those again, so whenever we have that call from you, we're gonna meet those requests. That's how what we're doing now have come to be. We wouldn't have a conscious grievers group if it wasn't for our audience who's asked for it. We wouldn't have She Who Rises if we haven't had audience who requested it. We wouldn't have a facilitator training unless you requested it. And I love creating from that model. I'm very much a generator. What is that from human design? Like You
Hmm.
call, you ask, I'm going to show up for that and I'm going to generate the thing. I'm like, yeah, I got a course for you. I've got a program for you. I've got a one-on-one session perfect for that. Whatever it is, it's like, I want to meet your energy.
Yeah. And we're also at the beginning of the year going to have links so you can just purchase and buy at your own pace.
Yeah,
So there's other things if you don't want to be in class, but you still need to you want to learn, you're still seeking, we're going to have that too. So
absolutely. I'm so excited. Well, happy solstice, everyone. Merry Christmas. I hope you enjoy the holidays. We will be back on before the new year, and I wish everyone a beautiful week of however you are celebrating the holidays. Happy Hanukkah. Like, I know there's so many things going on right now.
there is. It's good.
Absolutely.
Bye everyone.
Thank you.